Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Zamboni. I am an herbalist and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Thank you so much for sending me a shout out on Venmo or Cash App or PayPal. Thank you so much for sending tips. Those are super helpful. Thank you for getting a reading. Thank you for joining the Patreon and checking out all of the content that I have there. It's gotten to be a lot at this point. It's really a deal. Thank you so much for supporting this whole thing. Don't forget to save this for later. Don't forget to send me a comment and let you know how you feel. Let me know how you feel. All of these things. Thank you so much for being a part of this Zamboni Funk community enterprise. I really appreciate you. So with that said, let's go ahead and talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So this week is kind of fun. You know, there's some feelings associated with this week, and it's not always comfortable, but some of it is, you know. So the first thing that's going to go on this weekend is, so we got the sun in Gemini, moving through Gemini. Sun, first thing, is going to conjoin the North Node. Now, this is not a super big deal, but it feels in keeping with what's going on all week. So the North Node is this point. It's a mathematical point in the sky. It's not an actual object, but it's the place where eclipses happen. When there's a new moon or a full moon and it's close to one of the nodes, then that's what an eclipse is. So the North Node, the sun on the North Node is, this is the head of the dragon, right? So we're looking at more. We're looking at increase on whatever is going on here. We want to get into it, try to do the thing a little more and a little more. This is likely to bring up themes that we've been looking at through the eclipses and all this sort of stuff. It's not a super big deal, but it feels like doing the most at a time when you don't necessarily need to do the most. This feels especially resonant in a week where at the end of the week, we have Mars in Cancer opposite to Pluto in Capricorn. So Mars in Cancer is in a bit of a rough spot, right? Mars in Cancer is uncomfortable. This sometimes feels a little bit like, I think I said one time, like, if I don't feel like doing it, then it ain't getting done, or something like this, right? It also just kind of feels a little grumpy sometimes, and like, you know, like it just can't quite get comfortable, and that sort of situation. Then in opposition to Pluto, Pluto really does the most, right? So Pluto can sometimes be a little bit obsessive or jealous, or it can really like turn into a lot with Pluto sometimes. And then, you know, it's not just the obsession with Pluto, you know, and there's something here that is a little bit distorted. You know, I like to think about the funhouse mirror when it comes to Pluto. I think of like looking in the mirror, and the image that you see is like dysmorphic in some kind of way. And so this feels very much like anger, because we got Mars here, right? We got Mars in Cancer opposite to Pluto in Capricorn. And opposition, this is already opposition and conflict of some sort. There's tension here. This is a difficult aspect, right? And then we got Mars, who is a lot of times angry and uncomfortable. And then opposite to Pluto. And this Pluto situation feels like maybe I got it in my head in some kind of way that made me super angry and furious, and it maybe doesn't need to be all that, you know. It doesn't need to like turn into all this necessarily, but it kind of does anyway, right? And so what we're looking at here is like there's a sense of maybe boiling over in some kind of way. Or like getting a little too excited about something. It's really interesting also that the moon is going to be in Aries at that same moment, right? And so Aries is a sign that is ruled by Mars, and Cancer is a sign that is ruled by the moon. And so this is what is called a mutual reception. They each rule each other, and they're making a strong aspect. This is actually going to be a T-square. So the moon in Aries is T-squared to Pluto in Capricorn and Mars in Cancer. This looks very dynamic indeed. Now, actually, I'm pretty excited about this mutual reception, because I think that this is going to represent a good opportunity to solve a problem. There's this sort of building tension all week. You know, Mars isn't going super fast here, so we're going to feel this like build up throughout the week, right? And then in this moment where this exact opposition happens and the moon comes and sweeps through at the same time, this feels like Mars really wants to solve a problem. That's what Mars is here to do. That's why we have this like action principle that wants to push on stuff and that sees how things are wrong and wants to fight about it sometimes. And that's what an anger response is. A lot of times it's like it's uncomfortable and wants to solve it and wants to make it not uncomfortable anymore, right? And so we see this kind of dynamic then having some kind of outlet with the moon. The moon, the moon in Aries and Mars in Cancer, both of these, and like making this T-square and all this like feels uncomfortable, right? It doesn't feel like ease or chilling in a hammock, right? That's not the vibes that we get out of this. But it does feel like it's problem solving in some kind of way. It feels like there's some kind of discomfort which motivates having to do something about it. There's some kind of discomfort which is also potentially dysmorphic, right? Maybe the problem isn't quite as big as it feels. We get a lot of this like molehills into mountains with Pluto a lot. So maybe the problem isn't as big as all that, but no matter how big it is in like objective reality or whatever, it got big in the head, right? And so it's like, I got to handle this right now. And to have the moon here in this mutual reception feels like it is, like it's able to use this discomfort in some kind of way to push forward the story in some kind of way. There's something deeply emotional that goes on here, but that also really wants to like have some kind of tangible solution and at least get started on it in some kind of way. This is a T-square that's happening in cardinal signs which like to initiate things. And so I feel like there's really get a ball rolling on something, on some kind of action. Maybe it'll feel like a solution, maybe it won't feel like a solution, but do something. That's what we kind of feel toward the end of the week. Now the good news here is that Mars is not alone in Cancer. Venus is actually going to move into Cancer in the middle of the week. And so Venus has been hanging out in Gemini for a little while. Has been there with Mercury, who rules Gemini. Mercury is now retrograde. This is a mess. And so Venus gets to kind of step out of this and just move right into Cancer. Now Mars is here in Cancer and is in the straits with Pluto and all this. But Venus is pretty far away from that and can sort of chill a little bit. And actually one of the nice things that's going to happen here is that Venus is going to make a trine to Jupiter in Pisces. You will recall that Jupiter is in great position in Pisces and a trine aspect is very good for stabilizing or helping or coming to some kind of agreement or accord or something like this, for affirming in some kind of way. This is a really great aspect for doing that. And so what I'm feeling with this here is that it feels like visionary possibility. The Jupiter in Pisces is definitely going to be associated with visions or spirituality or religion or something like this. And then, there's a feeling of it. It feels really good when Venus is involved. Venus in Cancer gets this nice trine from Jupiter. And it's like, there's this feeling of like, Venus really does the feelings, right? Like the way that it feels, the connectivity and all this kind of stuff. This sort of like benefits from the Jupiter in a really big way. And so I wonder if we might be able to cultivate some kind of visceral feeling that then might sort of act as a lighthouse or a guidepost when a couple of days later, the Mars-Pluto situation happens and there's like this whole, like there's this intensely uncomfortable moment that takes place here, which may in fact recall what was going on last year especially like from September onward last year in 2020. Mars was retrograde in Aries during that time. And so we might see some of these themes coming up again. And so to see that come up again, but to have this kind of like clarity or visionary idea of what is possible immediately preceding that really feels like a good problem-solving kind of situation, especially once we factor in the moon and the mutual reception and all this sort of stuff. So I think that there's a lot of potential in this week, and especially in the middle of the week, it's a great time to get it popping and think thoughts that bring you toward the life that you want to live. So let's do the damn thing, huh? Thank you so much again for just fucking watching this long. I know that I can get long-winded and rambly sometimes. Thank you so much for being here. If you like listening to me being long-winded and rambly, you should check out my Patreon. There's for $8 or something like this, you can get all of the lectures that I've ever done, and a whole bunch which are exclusive to Patreon, and are, they're fun. I try to work with the skies and the moment in order to generate the life that we want to live. I have this feeling that there's an apocalypse going on or something like this, and no matter what happens, I am going to thrive during it. And so I'm discussing the methods with which I'm using to accomplish this goal, and I would love for you to come along on this journey and thrive during the apocalypse as well. So thank you so much for being here. I'll see y'all next time. Bye, boo.